Is it pressure for you to be into an already established classic?
You should speak
Oh,
to that first.
I mean, certainly. But in other ways, I feel like I found ways to kind of cope with that because pressure can be very crippling, and I feel like it can impede performance a lot. If you feel like you should be doing something a certain way, kind of robs you of artistic integrity and and you know, takes away honest impulse, which is sort of that would be the enemy of good acting. So I feel like as we've gone along, I've sort of figured out how to just be true to the scripts that we have, the Nancy that we're building, the stories that we're building, and being confident in the fact that our entire writer's room, our creators, myself, are all major Nancy superfans and have been since we were all little kids. So nobody who's a part of this wants to do Nancy wrong. We're all very dedicated to the source material. And then jumping off of that, using it and really embedding it in everything we're doing, but then allowing her and these stories to live in the modern era. So that helps relieve the pressure.
And what do you think might be different in the character from the books as your character in the modern era?
Right. I think... Oh, yeah, do you want to...
Well, the only thing I would add is that, you know, if someone said, go write, 30 new Nancy Drew books, then the pressure would be overwhelming because she got those really right. And so we're making a television series that is deeply inspired by the books, but I think in many ways that it, as Kennedy said, the inspiration runs deep and throughout everything we're doing, and informs it. And we would never want to do something that made anyone who has been a fan of the books somehow feel like there was any kind of betrayal. But the books are almost a jumping off point because now we've got real life human beings and cameras and effects, and we're telling a very contemporary version of the story. And frankly, my 2 cents is, I think if you shot tonally and just literally lifted those pages and made a TV show, I don't know that anybody would want to sit around and watch it.
Yep.
They're remarkable books. I like to think what we're doing with it as an actual television series is kind of using those as a springboard and jumping from there.
Regarding your question, the difference is a lot of the same characteristics travel, over. She's incredibly meticulous and wildly courageous and willing to do anything for the sake of justice. I think what we're seeing, and what I'm very relieved that we're seeing, is a real person who makes emotional sacrifices and loses things because of the pursuit of this desire for justice. I think what we saw, especially in the original 1930s Nancy Drew, is sort of someone who it always works out. She doesn't lose. Right, exactly. She's still, at the end of the day, the perfect daughter and the perfect girlfriend and the perfect friend. And she's accomplished it all. And our Nancy is amazing and a bit of a superhero in that sort of way. But there are consequences for saying, essentially, back off, I'm handling this myself, or I'm making this decision to make this emotional sacrifice because I need to solve this. And that there are major things that life gets really messy and in her relationships, and she's not always likable, and she's not always the perfect friend, and she lets people down in the process and the pursuit of that. And thank God, because it would be incredibly boring to watch somebody be perfect. And I think that's one of the most attractive qualities of our iteration of her and her story, is that she's very real and complicated. So.
This show seems to have a very strong sense of setting. What can you tell us about the qualities of Horseshoe Bay and the community and how that plays into the story?
Yeah, I feel like in many ways the community that the story takes place in is a character, and in terms of the way it's being written and produced and shot, it's very specific. There's something about all of this happening in what would be considered kind of a small town, because there's so much interconnectedness. These mysteries happening in like Manhattan would be. They just make less of an impact, right? And so the mythology of this place, the things that have happened here for years and years and years, how those people have grown into other people, and now the uncovering of a lot of those things.
The dynamic of different core families
Yes.
within the community and how they interplay throughout the last 100 years, and how those dead mysteries sort of come back to life in ghostly form or not. But hey, anything's up for grabs. But yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like a nautical town, it's a seaside town. It's very much a town that's full of people who have lived here for generations, and I just think all of that just has such great texture to it and really feeds the deep sense of mysteries that are, that are existing on a surface level, but that are buried way deep beneath the ground, literally, that we're walking across.
So, that was good. Thank you. Yeah.
You got a quick one?
Yeah, it was about, I keep hearing everyone in the cast, everyone in the crew is talking about the word justice. And I wondered where you thought Nancy Drew fits in the current arc of, what we're living through currently,
right?
How it plays into or adds discourse to how we're currently living in the world in the sense of justice.
Yeah. I think Nancy embodies this sort of rebellious justice that we're seeing a lot of, this sort of fighting against the confines of the law and of structure. She is very much an independent thinker and is sort of willing to weave. Her justice is not in line with well, this is what the law says. It's very socially based, and I think it embodies a lot of this sort of this rise of young people with bold and bright ideas who are willing to find creative solutions to things, and I think that she's a real embodiment of that.
And at a time where it's unnerving to sort of feel what justice does or doesn't mean. I think it'll be really satisfying for an audience to see a group of people who are deeply committed to empowering, enabling justice to actually happen, no matter what it involves doing.
Right,
Good things,
no
bad
matter
things, at any cost. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, guys.